You didn't fall, you were pushed. But no one told you, because everyone else around you was falling too. There's a reason life feels harder, tighter, more exhausting. It's because what you believed was middle class doesn't exist anymore. And maybe it never did, not for people like us. This is Fog of Work, and what you're about to hear isn't a conspiracy or a complaint. It's a truth so many of us live through every day, but rarely say out loud. This video isn't just about lost jobs or rising prices. It's about the quiet erasure of a whole way of life. One that was promised to you, but never truly meant for you. Let's start by pulling back the curtain on what this system is really doing to people like you. Every day, in plain sight. You were told that if you worked hard, you'd be okay. That a good job, a home, a couple of vacations, and maybe even retirement were all part of the deal. That's what our parents had, right? They owned homes, they took road trips, they had savings, even on modest salaries. But that version of the world is dead. And if you're like most people today, you're not living the dream. You're financing the illusion. Credit cards, car loans, rent, that's more than half your income. And when the car breaks or the rent spikes, you're one emergency away from being completely screwed. Here's the twist. Most people still think they're middle class, even when they're drowning. Because we've been sold an identity, not a reality. And when you look closely at what that reality has become, it's hard not to feel betrayed. Let's talk money. Not in spreadsheets or official reports, but in the lived reality of what your paycheck actually buys today. Once, the middle class covered most of the country. Now, it barely stretches across the map. And what it costs to live like your middle class today, truly live, not just survive, is far more than most people imagine. We're not talking about buying luxury or chasing status. We're talking about basic dignity, a safe home, reliable transportation, some money and savings, maybe the chance to send your kids to college without signing your soul away. But the price of everything essential, housing, healthcare, education, has ballooned beyond reason, while wages crawl behind like a broken mule. What used to be a reasonable rent now feels like a second mortgage. What once passed for a decent health plan now comes with bills that could ruin you. And college? It's a debt trap disguised as opportunity. Meanwhile, your income hasn't just failed to keep up, it's been quietly sabotaged. Promotions barely cover the rising costs. Raises get eaten alive by the bills you used to be able to handle. You're not struggling to get ahead anymore. You're struggling not to fall apart. And here's the part they'll never say out loud. This isn't just a cycle. It's a system designed to give you just enough to keep working and never enough to stop. You did everything right, got the degree, landed the job, said goodbye to hot dogs and second-hand clothes. You thought that was the ticket out. But 3 years in, you're still renting, juggling bills, and praying your paycheck clears before your insurance premium hits. You're not poor anymore, but you're definitely not secure. This isn't a mistake. It's the new normal. The middle class is no longer a step up. It's a treadmill with a designer label. Let's break it down. One woman making 6 figures, a number that should scream success, explains how her paycheck disappears before she even touches it. Rent, insurance, groceries, gone. Sound familiar? A man working multiple jobs still can't afford rent and food without relying on credit. Another one lives paycheck to paycheck with no savings, terrified his car will break down because a single tire could cost him everything. This isn't mismanagement. This is systemic failure. We're told to live within our means. But what happens when basic survival, housing, food, transit, becomes a luxury? Here's a hard truth. Most people today will never retire. They'll work until they're dead, or until their bodies give out. And if they stop, they fall. Because Social Security won't cover the bills. Because savings don't exist when you're just trying to make it through the week. Because they told us to invest but never showed us how to win. The retirement age keeps climbing. Your back hurts, and that promise of rest turns into a sentence of endless labor. And the damage doesn't stop with you. It bleeds into the next generation. Your kids watch you come home late, exhausted, limping, not from ambition, but survival. They grow up knowing that life doesn't slow down with age. It gets more expensive, more painful, more precarious. You start to worry not just about your future, but about becoming a burden to them. And they, quietly, start calculating how they'll carry you, because they already know the system won't. Retirement isn't a finish line anymore. It's just another broken promise. If you're struggling, it's not your fault. It's not because you didn't hustle hard enough or budget better. This system was engineered to extract everything from you while giving you just enough to survive, never enough to grow. You're told to go to college, then punished with debt for the rest of your life. You're told to get a job, then paid barely enough to cover the essentials. You're told to own a home, then shut out of the market entirely. You're told to save, but after bills, groceries, and gas, you've got pocket change. Debt isn't just a burden, it's a leash. It keeps you working jobs you hate, staying silent, afraid to slip. Because if you stop, the whole thing crashes. And that's the point. They've tied your survival to obedience. This is the middle class now. A fragile illusion maintained by overwork, underpay, and shame. Corporations love calling you middle class because if you believe you're middle class, you'll work harder to keep up the image. You'll take on loans to go on vacation. You'll buy that car on credit just to look comfortable. You'll accept exploitation in silence because, hey, at least you're not poor. They don't sell you products. They sell you belonging. The right clothes, the right car, the right coffee shop. You're not buying a lifestyle. You're buying the illusion that you're not falling behind. But here's the secret. You're not middle class. You're a consumer unit, a labor source, a revenue stream. The middle class label has become a marketing scam, one that keeps you spending, keeps you working, and keeps you obedient. What choices do you really have? Can you move? Not without money. Can you quit? Not without health insurance. Can you rest? Not without guilt. You are free. In the same way a hamster is free inside its wheel. And the saddest part? When you start waking up, when you ask, is this it? Others will try to pull you back down. Because your awakening threatens their comfort. When you stop pretending, you threaten their illusion. Maybe you feel stuck, trapped, angry, exhausted, like you've done everything right and still you're losing. You're not alone. Millions of people are quietly realizing the same thing. The ladder's gone. The safety net is a lie. The game was rigged before you were even born. And if that realization hurts, it's supposed to. You might feel grief or guilt or shame. You might ask yourself, was it me? Did I fail? No, you didn't. You were never meant to win a game designed to keep you playing forever. But here's where everything shifts. Once you see the machine, you can't unsee it. And when you name the problem, you stop blaming yourself. This is where real awareness begins, not with hope, not with toxic positivity, with truth. And truth, as painful as it is the first step to freedom. So if you felt the squeeze, if you've watched your future get smaller every year, if you're tired of pretending everything's fine, welcome. This channel is for people like you. People who see the cracks, who question the system, who refuse to sleepwalk through life any longer. If this spoke to you, drop a comment. I reply to all of them because this isn't just content. It's a conversation. Stick around. The next video goes even deeper. Once you see the truth, there's no going back.